Hey, how's it going, everybody? Charlie Wilson here, aka Sinister Charlie. Welcome back. Hi, how you doing? My back is really messed up. I don't think I'm going to the gym for the rest of the week. It hurts now when I bend over, and I do a lot of that. Hey, ho. So maybe we'll do some streams this week since I'll have time. Maybe. I keep saying I got good internet now. I don't even use it. Yeah, so we're fat electrician. We got a video. It's about a gun. It's about his gun. It's like future gun. America's future gun, XM29. Yeah, I'm not huge on. I'm huge on guns is a bad term. I like guns. Used to have 9mm. 40 cal Glock. That's what I had. It's a 9mm. I was thinking about the Beretta in the military. But yeah, the most I've ever used guns was probably in the military when I was in the Seabees. M16s, M240 Bravo. What else have I shot? 9mm Beretta, shotgun, all that stuff. But yeah, throwing a grenade once too, which is kind of weird because we don't get issued grenades in the Seabees, so I don't know what that's all about. Anyway, let's get into it. Basically, a war crime. America's future weapon, the XM29 Niner. Threw a niner in there. Let's go. Sorry.
Okay, I guess part 2 of all the weird future weapons the government wasted our money on.
Quack.
Today we're talking about that time that Uncle Sam decided that he wanted to take the M16, the U.S. military's primary firearm, and replace it with a grenade launcher. But first, an angry rant. An ad brought to you by my
Angry rant ad.
Ground News. They collect news from over 50,000 sources, sticking it into one convenient app, allowing you to compare all the news coverage in one convenient location. Allowing you to simply swipe over to read different headlines for the same exact story, being able to tell which outlet is biased and which isn't, and how factual their articles actually.
Spoiler alert, they're all biased.
Actually are. And that factuality rating is really important because every once in a while some dumb stuff happens. Like the Marine Corps pulling a Wonder Woman and forgetting where they parked the invisible jet.
Oh,
See.
no.
What seems to be the trouble, Wonder Woman?
I locked my keys in the jet.
Holy keys locked in the jet, Batman.
Because in times like these, real news and facts always gets drowned out by crazy conspiracy theories like... my uncle back in the day thought about joining the military, and he said that it's probably because the pilot had TikTok installed on...
That's funny. I started to pause it. It's just the ads, but I have an uncle just like that. Man, if I had joined the military, it's always those people, and you're like, okay. Well, you didn't, so...
his phone, and that Chinese malware somehow
Nothing wrong
seeped
with
into
that.
the F-35 and took over the F-35, ejected the pilot, and then flew itself to Cuba. Probably not. It was more than likely just some dumb shit, like there was a legitimate malfunction that caused the pilot to eject, and then Lockheed Martin forgot to put a kill switch inside the seat, so the autopilot just kept the plane going for another 80 miles, and nobody could track it because it's a stealth fighter. And now, thanks to Ground News, I know that the government is trying to pull the oldest trick in the military handbook of claiming it's a feature and not a fuck-up. Okay, look, I'm not trying to say that I'm smart enough to build a stealth fighter. All I'm saying is I've got a lawnmower in my garage, and whenever I get off the seat while the mower is running, it shuts down. And if I was going to build an $80 million plane, I would probably incorporate something along those lines. But
Sure.
Hey, maybe that's the lesson to be learned here. The government should actually be investing in Toro zero-turn radius fighter jets, because this would have never happened, and it would bring a whole new meaning to the phrase mowing down the enemy. And for you should probably be investing in Ground News, and now let's get back to the video.
That was a good plug. I like that.
Operation Give Everybody a Grenade Launcher is officially known as the OICW program, which stands for Objective Individual Combat Weapon. Why on earth would you call it that?
I don't know.
Because the weapon they made was the XM29, aka the Tactical Car Door. That is a 20mm grenade launcher that fires programmable smart grenades on top and a German G36 on the bottom. And when your end goal is to give a weapon that ridiculous to...
Yeah, if you're to replace the M16, that's no. Just give him a saw, dude. No, that's ridiculous. Everybody having that.
Every single grunt in the U.S. military, you kind of have to give it a bland acronym of a nickname, because when Geneva finds out that you're replacing the M16, she's going to have some questions. And when she wants to know the name and a brief description of this new weapon, it behooves everybody for you to be like, it's objectively speaking, it is a combat weapon, and it's meant for an individual, and we call it the OICW. Because the last thing the brass wants to do is go in there and tell the truth. It's a semi-automatic grenade launcher with an underslung 5.56 rifle. We don't have an official name for it yet, but the boys are calling it the Baloney Mistmaker 5000. Once that happens,
I mean, they do have attachment. They'll have the grenade launcher attachment for the M16 or the M4. But I'm sure that weapon's better. I don't know. I'd have to see, but
it's all downhill from there. Next thing you know, people are asking questions. People are making points, you know, like, hey, exploding bullets have been illegal since 1899. Would you care to explain the difference
it's a grenade
between
launcher,
an
right?
exploding bullet and a really small grenade that gets shot out of a gun? It would be a complete nightmare. So, acronym seems dumb, actually very important. It's basically camouflage at this point. I'm just going to be honest with you, that tangent was not supposed to be part of the video, and I have no idea how to continue from here. So, I'm just going to rewind and start over, okay? See you in a second.
Okay. Bye. Love you. Quack. Damn
Today
it.
we're talking
Missed
about
it.
America's Starship Trooper weapon, the
There you go.
XM29.
Hi. I see you. What was that?
All right, so picking up where we left off. Last week, we covered the ACR program, the Advanced Combat Rifle. If you don't remember,
I gotta get to that.
basically the military came out right after Vietnam and said, hey, we want a new weapon to replace the M16. We want it to be twice as accurate as the M16 is.
Sure.
And all the weapons manufactured
Maybe it'll jam less. Maybe that. Maybe that could be a thing.
took that as, hey, let's build a bunch of space guns to hunt aliens with. There was all kinds of craziness going on. They had guns that were shooting darts. They had guns that had grandfather clocks inside of them. And Colt even made a gun that every time you shot a bad guy, it was worth double XP. And when the smoke settled from all this ridiculous innovation, somewhere along the way, the military came to the conclusion of like, oh, instead of trying to rebuild a gun from the ground up, we could just put a scope on the M16 and it'd be way more accurate. And that's the story of how the American military got ACOGs in the M145 combat optic, which is great. The only problem was...
I said it before in an earlier video. I don't like the ACOG. I never used... It was offered to us when I was in Iraq and I was convoy security, but I never wanted it. It just seemed like a waste. Like, I'd just rather look down the iron sights if I have to. I already have the M240 Bravo and the 9mm and the M4. I don't want an extra garbage on my M4.
They spent $300 million to figure out that guns are more accurate when you put scopes on them, and now people want answers. So the government launched an internal investigation against itself, and you're never going to believe what happened. The government determined that the government did nothing wrong.
Of course.
You see, the program didn't fail because of corruption or the government's inability to point out obvious shit. Clearly, the program failed because the government has done such an incredible job with
obviously
M16A2, it simply can't be beat ever. It is the pinnacle of ballistic performance. They have maxed out the skill tree on small arms and bullets. There's nothing else that can be done.
We live in a golden age. Everything worth discovering has been discovered.
The report then goes on to recommend that if the government still wanted to increase the lethality of its soldiers, the only option they should pursue is an explosive option, i.e., we're all getting grenade launchers.
Yes! That's awesome!
So they fire up the government contracts, and this time they do actually have a declared winner, and that is HK with their submission, the XM29.
What a contract.
And
that would
to
have
be
been
fair, technologically speaking, this thing is actually really impressive. That scope on top isn't just a scope. It's a regular scope, a night vision scope, a thermal scope, a rangefinder, and a ballistic calculator all in one.
All right, yeah, that sounds good.
They're able to pre-program every grenade before they fire it to airburst mode so it blows up at a certain distance away from the gun.
That's pretty
not necessarily
awesome.
before it hits something. All right, so in theory, for example, how this is supposed to work is say there's a bad guy hiding behind a concrete wall, so you whip out the Baloney Mistmaker 5000. You then point the gun at the concrete wall the bad guy's hiding behind, you click this little dot button by the trigger, that tells the laser rangefinder how far away the wall is. Then if you want it to explode a little bit past the wall, you hit the plus a few times. Now the grenade is going to be programmed to explode a little bit past the distance
awesome,
of where that
dude.
wall is away from you. So then you just fire the grenade right over the top of the wall, and it's going to explode as soon as it passes the wall right on top of the enemy's head. And then if the situation doesn't really call for grenades, it also has an underslung 5.56 rifle that is essentially the HKG-36. And most importantly, on that rifle, to answer the question that every Marine has had since the very beginning of this video, yes, there is a bayonet lug for this weapon. I mean, could you imagine being the guy that gets taken out with a bayonet on the end of this monstrosity? You're just sitting up there at the pearly gate waiting to find out if you're going up or down. Somebody leans over and is like, hey, what happened to you? Oh, I got hit with a drone strike. What about you? I'm gonna be honest with you. I think A Marine jumped into my trench and stabbed me with a piece of luggage. So this begs the question, why on earth didn't the United States adopt this thing if it's so awesome? Well, it's awesome in theory, it's not so awesome in practice. There's a lot of things wrong with it. For one, this thing empty with no ammunition inside of it weighs 18 pounds, which is very heavy for a firearm.
Yeah.
To put that into perspective, an M16 kitted out with a grenade launcher, an ACOG, a PEC-15 IR unit, the whole
like
shebang
7 pounds.
is about 12 pounds.
Oh,
so
12
this
pounds,
thing is
sorry.
50% heavier. Also with the XM29, there was just some bad design ideas. Okay, so if we look at the M16 with the M203 grenade launcher, notice how it shoots bullets and it shoots grenades. And there is a trigger for shooting grenades and there is a trigger for shooting bullets. They're separate. Then you look over at the XM29, there's only one trigger and it shoots both bullets and grenades.
That's probably a problem. This is probably a big problem you don't want to deal with. You know, a negligent discharge from that could be really bad.
And the only differentiator between the two is this little selector switch right here, KE standing for kinetic energy.
Oh, no.
Bullets, and HE standing for high explosive. So, I mean, you can imagine somebody forgetting where their selector switch is, firing a warning shot, and whoops, that was a grenade, not a 5.56 round. My bad. Okay, third and final reason, it's just going to be a logistical nightmare all the way throughout because that big-ass fancy scope on top is going to take batteries, and if you can't get batteries to make that scope work, the rangefinder isn't going to work, which means you can't program the smart grenades, which means you're
Marines
basically
aren't
carrying
gonna like
around
that.
an 18-pound gun that is ultimately a 5.56 rifle with a 9-inch barrel, and a 9-inch barrel at 5.56 gives you a range of like 200 yards, so it just doesn't work out if you don't have batteries. Secondly, even if you can get batteries all the way there, you got to have smart grenades which have microchips on them. I don't know what you know about American manufacturing, but we're not that great at making microchips. And the places we get all our microchips from are either places we're likely to go to war with or places that are bordering places that we're likely to go to war with, which could pose a huge issue in ammo procurement should war break out. So because of all these reasons, in 2004, the chief of the infantry steps up and is like, absolutely not. I'm not sending all these guys out to the front lines carrying tactical car doors. This is not happening. Kill the program. It's over. So at this point, all the other high-ranking brass and bureaucrats and weapons contractors are like, well, this is kind of an issue because this program was going to be the reason that it was okay that we messed up the last program that cost $300 million. And now we've spent a bunch of more money on this program, so much so that we're not even going to tell the public how much. We kind of have to make this program work. So what if we kept the program alive and we just split this gun into two pieces? We'll have the rifle that's going to replace the M16, and then we'll also have this cool smart grenade launcher. How about that? To which the Pentagon is like, oh my God, what a terrific idea. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. And I can't prove this part, but the word on the street has always been, at this point in the project, the only feedback the Pentagon gave about the actual rifle portion was, and I quote, make sure it's more Starship Troopers-like. And this is where the XM8.
Okay. Wow, that's pretty funny.
And while the G8 does look really cool and super futuristic, ultimately it was just the German service rifle, the G36, that HK took and wrapped inside of a plastic body kit to make it look cooler and then tried to sell it to the American government. And their big selling point was going to be that the new XM8 was going to be modular, meaning that you could take different barrel lengths and stick them on the same gun, making it so it was better at different types of combat. If you were going to be doing a bunch of close quarters combat, you could have a little short barrel, and if you were going to be doing further out combat, you could have a longer barrel for improved accuracy, which honestly is a terrific idea. The only problem is the AR platform, the M16, the M4, it can already do that. So just to be clear, it doesn't do anything new that the M16 isn't already doing, and it shoots the exact same bullet, so there's pretty much no reason whatsoever
it is from the
to
Germans.
waste the money in switching rifles to a rifle that's basically the same. But there's money and reputations on the line, so they're going to keep trying to make it happen anyways. They end up ordering a bunch of prototypes, have it tested by the military, and everybody finds out pretty much immediately, oh hey, when you shoot a bunch of bullets through this plastic gun, it gets hot, and then the plastic starts melting off the gun. So the XM8 ends up getting scrapped in 2007, but there is a silver lining. It's not a complete loss because we still have the XM25, the smart grenade launcher. And this thing is actually absolutely awesome. It's pretty much the same grenade launcher from the XM29. The only thing they changed is they bumped it up from a 20mm to a 25mm grenade to make it a little bit more lethal. And now the plan moving forward with this thing is instead of having everybody in the military carry a grenade launcher, you're just going to take one guy from the squad and have him be the smart grenade launcher guy. Like you lose one rifleman, you gain one guy that can shoot smart smart grenades 700 yards, it's a pretty fair
That'd be
trade-off
fun.
and probably a really good idea in a lot of use cases. So they give it to the grunts and send them off to war, and seemingly everybody loves it. The Rangers get a hold of it, they seem to like it. They give it to the 101st Airborne, and those guys absolutely love it. They end up nicknaming it the Punisher. Some of the leaders in the infantry are quoted as saying it'll turn a 30-minute gunfight into a 3-minute gunfight. This thing is absolutely awesome because you can have everybody using their M16s, their M4s, their 240s, their saws, laying down suppressing fire, forcing the enemy to hide behind cover, and then just use a grenade to take out the enemy from behind cover, and it's a huge tactical advantage. And this goes on for years until one day in 2016, the entire narrative changes, and seemingly overnight, the XM25 Punisher becomes a giant piece of shit. Somebody starts digging up all these old stories, looking for anything in the history of the XM25 that could be used against it. Like, there was this one time back in 2012 where this one Ranger unit on this one mission decided that they would rather have a rifleman instead of this grenade launcher. Therefore, this weapon must not be very
They want to take away all the fun.
reliable. It's not like the Rangers.
All the fun in war. It's fantastic.
Rangers are a special operations unit, and maybe that particular mission didn't call for a fucking grenade launcher, but whatever. Oh, and then there was this one time in 2013 where the weapon malfunctioned one time and all the safety features worked exactly how they were supposed to, but the operator of the weapon still got a minor injury. So we're going to go ahead and use that as the excuse to can the entire program for, you know, troop safety, because nobody's going to get mad at us if we're trying to protect the troops, right? Right. Okay, because here's what we're not going to do. We're absolutely not going to tell the American public that somewhere along the line somebody remembered, oh, exploding bullets are a war crime, and they have been since the 1800s. I wonder what the difference is between an exploding bullet and a small grenade that gets shot out of a gun. And then, if you Google it, holy shit, this line has been drawn in the sand since 1868. If it's 400 grams or less, it's an exploding bullet, and if it's more than that, it's a piece of ordnance. And a 25 millimeter grenade is apparently less than 400 grams, so this entire project has been a war crime the entire time, right from the get-go. Hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayers' money has now been wasted because somebody that ran this project didn't want to Google shit first. You know, it's only a war crime if the bullet explodes inside the enemy. This is supposed to explode over the top of the enemy, so this should be completely legal. Yeah, that is true, but hear me out. If you can point the laser at the wall the bad guy's hiding behind and make the grenade explode a couple inches past that wall, you can also aim the laser at the bad guy and make that grenade explode a couple inches into that bad guy. So yeah, I guess in conclusion, that's the story of the OICW program. That time the US government decided that they were going to spend 3 decades and hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars to develop a fancy new futuristic grenade launcher that from its inception, the very idea of it was actually illegal. Thanks for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at theelectrician.com. Quack bang out.
A bing bang boom and a doot doot.
You know, it's only a war crime if the bullet explodes inside the enemy. If it explodes...
Hubba bubble. Hubba hubble. Yeah, I've been there. All right. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. Hey, yeah, there you go. I got nothing. Fun stuff. That was a fun one, more than I thought it would be. Less of a story about like individuals, and yeah, obviously about a gun. So cool. I'm hoping I can do some live streaming stuff this week. Like I said, my back. I think I need to stop lifting heavy things for a little while. This is going to be hard for me because I'll be bored. So, hence the live streaming would be good. Anyway. Thanks for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe down below. It makes me feel good inside. And leave a comment if you've got any suggestions or anything, or if you just want to call me a jerk. That's cool too. All right. Bye.